Hey, it's Mike D here, and what we want to do in this quick video is go through some blog training, and we're going to really touch on a couple of technical aspects, but also we're going to give you some conceptual and principle aspects of blogging. So what I'm going to do is really just kind of hit on the blog aspects here before I jump into the back end of WordPress. Just give you an overview of the areas where you really need to be blogging. So, a lot of times people ask me how frequently should I be putting blogs up for my business? And I use the word blog interchangeably with news. And the news can be anything that's going on in your business, any new developments in your industry. It can be anything that's really happening. It can be fair game for a blog. Why a blog and a news area of your website is a little more powerful than just social media is because every time you add a good piece of information to your website, to the news area, whether it's industry expertise, stuff that's happening in your business or whatever it is, and it's really good content, your website gets crawled by Google, or we can actually submit those pages to Google like we do for our search engine clients. And basically one of the algorithms is how fresh is a website. So keeping your website up to date, your news and blog area up to date, weekly, couple times a month, really just got to settle into a groove, is really going to show Google and Bing that your website is fresh and the information is extremely relevant. And so that's the overarching principle that you want to keep in mind. Plus, prospects and customers and clients, they really see that, hey, there's things happening here, this business is fresh. So it actually serves two functions: search engine optimization, and also as a good prospecting tool, content marketing is what we call it. And then you just want to let your website build in depth and authority, and outdo your competitors. So that's why you need to be doing it, why you need to do it regularly. Then from there, we get into the whole idea of content. Well, what's fair game for content? So again, any knowledge that you have that's not on your website yet, so of course your website consists of a lot of information, sales materials, whatever, calls to action. But what is some of the industry knowledge you have that goes along with your expertise in business that you can actually put on your website? And we call that evergreen or expert content. Where it's when we say evergreen, that means it's relevant now. It'll be relevant several years from now. Of course, if it changes, you can always update it, which is again why a fresh website is important, because sometimes, a lot of times in industries, information changes, and it should as we evolve and learn more. So you have the expert content. That's one side of your blog. Knowledge that you have, things that are happening. That knowledge is not dated in any way, shape, or form. It's relevant, and until something changes, it's going to be relevant, meaning it's not the next form of a blog or a news area, which is something that literally happened. Maybe you're working on a project, you're working with some customers, some clients, some members, whatever the case may be, and you really just want to showcase and maybe do a case study of this particular item. It's basically something that you're currently working on, something that is happening in your business. So that's news. The other thing, as far as upcoming events, things that are going to happen in your business, these are fair game for news and blogs. And then lastly, again, it could be industry news, new developments that are coming out, which is similar to the expert knowledge. I'll give you an example from the plumbing industry. We did a blog for a client, and it was all about new regulations in hot water tank, things like that. But these Energy Star hot water tanks. Again, I'm not looking at the blog, so bear with me. But it was industry news, so you can report on industry news. The most important thing you got to remember is you're not trying to spam or overstuff with keywords. You also have to make your content original. You're not copying and pasting. Not too many links going out, because then that diminishes the credibility of your material. So these are all the things: original content, expert news, business news, industry news. All right, so now that you got that, listen to that again, because I know I'm talking pretty fast, so you got to listen fast. Now I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to jump over into one of the into a WordPress backend here. So let's see here. I believe it's being shared. Okay. All right. So we're using Self-Defense Martial and Fitness Studio here as our example, and so now let's just say we have the expert knowledge. We created an article. We wrote it up all in Microsoft Word or whatever you use to do word processing, and you have the information ready to go. I'm not going to have it here, but let's just say one of these windows open is is going to be um, your material, okay, that you wrote. Okay, bear with me there for a second. So again, I don't have it open, so we're just using this as an example. So you're staring at a blank screen. You're staring at your editor. Okay, and I'll circle back how to get here in a second. So you're staring at your editor, and let's just say that there's a title for this article. You know, and it has to do with obviously the content that you wrote. That's very important. Everything has to be congruent. So you've already written the news, the information, the industry knowledge, whatever it is, and then you created a title. Now, you can get keyworded in the title. Not a problem to do that. So meaning as long as you can do a title where the keywords and phrases are related to the content, fair game. You know, again, you're not trying to do anything misleading here. So the title always links to the article. So now what you would do is you would just copy and paste. You got your title, and then you would just copy and paste the article into the paragraph. Okay, I'm sorry, into the editor here. And the same material you wrote in Microsoft Word ends up right here. And there's a couple things you can do. You know, one link, what's called an internal link, on each blog is a good thing. So you would basically, so I'd have a piece of content. So I'd say, let's just say this was my content. Highlight this, and I can always, you know, if I want to do a link, I can just create a link going back to another page on my website. So say I referenced, you know, self-defense classes or hot water heaters or whatever. I would say, yeah, new regulations in hot water heaters, and then I might link to the hot water heater page. I'm talking about, you know, self-defense methods. I may say, you know, yada, 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 self-defense, and I might link to the self-defense page on the website. Again, I'm using plumbing here, and I'm using, you know, self-defense program. So anyway, bear with me. So that's just something you want to keep in mind. Of course, you have all your different things, bold, and, you know, and all this good stuff. You know, you can keep it pretty straightforward. You have, you know, add media, basically, so you want to put a picture into the content. It's very straightforward. You know, and what I usually do on my blog is I just kind of do a loop around. So I bring the content in, I bold or I link anything, I work here, and then I go down, and then I'm going to give, this here is going to end up here. So it's called the preview. Now I can always change that, but there's nothing being populated here because I didn't put a title in. So I can always change that, and I'll get some actually tips here from this plugin. This is a search engine optimization plugin. And now I'll get my focus keyword. My focus keyword should be in the title and should be in the body of the article. And I'll just give it my, give it my focus keyword. Let's just say it's self-defense as an example, because this is easy, right? We're just using this example. And then I would give it the SEO title, which then will replace here. Okay, it won't replace this title, but it will replace this title here. And what they mean by snippet preview is this is actually what's going to become indexed by Google. Yada, 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 and then it's what you put here, yada, yada, yada. Focus keyword, then you have your description. Now, again, this description needs to be accurate. It needs to be an accurate representation of the body of the article. Go back to your, I remember doing a report when I was in 5th grade in Philadelphia Public Schools, grade school called Meredith. And the 5th grade report was I had to be a journalist during the Civil War. So we actually learned back in 5th grade how to be journalists. And one thing that I remember from my 5th grade journalism project is the fact that you as a journalist, you're really just summarizing things. You don't have to necessarily create anything new, although you have to add some some talent to it. But you're just summarizing. So this is really simple. So you have the industry news, yada yada yada, self-defense, yada yada yada, hot water tanks, and then I would put right here, blah 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 blah. Hot water tanks. It even tells me my character limit. It's really simple, but it has to be accurate. It has to be congruent with what you wrote. All right, there's no room for spam. This is just some fancy stuff. Page builders. It really just depends on what theme we're using for you. And then from here, tags. The tags are always going to be, again, relevant to the content. Very simple. Category. I always would like to, start with a news category, but you can really have as many categories as you want with your blog. Just keep that in mind. And then from here, if you wanted to have a featured image, the featured image always trumps everything else, it actually becomes the almost like the header of, not the header, it doesn't replace your banner, but it literally becomes the biggest part of the content. So just keep that in mind. There's a difference between the ad media and the featured image, all right? So but just test it out. You know, what I always tell everybody is nothing is going to blow up here, okay? And then from here, you can save it as a draft, or you could publish it. Publish it immediately. You can actually set a date for when you want things to go out. All right, and then you have, in most cases, you have a sidebar if we're doing lead generation marketing and paying attention to best principles. You know, you can pretty much, you know, pick your sidebar there. These are just little things, but the most important thing is the content, being regular, and just getting into a flow. You know, between actually writing something up, it might take a few minutes of your time, and then this, you know, once you get into a flow, this really not take long at all. So let's go back to the Hangout. Let's end the screen share. And we will catch up. We'll do this training for our clients in person. So we just like to have this video as a way to just back a few things up and give you something to reference. All right. Again, it's Mike D, cyberspacetoyourplace.com, myonlinemarketingconnection.com, and it was great sitting with you here for a few minutes and reviewing some blog news update functions for your website. Thank you.